People aren't remembered for the things that they're struggling with. They're remembered for the ways they overcome them.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
Hey, what's up? What is going on? Welcome to another episode of Hey Mark, the podcast where I, Mark, get to have open and authentic conversations about things like mental health and self-development. And the reason why I want to do that is because I want to let anyone out there that's suffering in silence know that no matter what it is that you're dealing with, you are not alone, and life can and will get better for you. We just have to work for it. So, what I wanted to chat about with you guys today is, basically how to take an L, how to take a loss in life. And we all get thrown curveballs, and that's something that I talk about on a daily basis, and especially on this podcast very often as well. And, we all have to, like I said, take an L sometimes, or take a loss in life. Whether that's being fired from a job or, really anything, any struggle that you're going through. It could be something that you view as something small, or it could be something that you view as very significant. It could be something that you view as significant and someone else views as small as well. It could be literally any struggle that you're going through, any challenge or hard time that you're facing. Like I said, whether you're struggling in your personal life, your work life, anything that's going on in your family life, your home life, whatever it could be, a lot of the times we're going to be losing in life. It could be an injury. It could be literally anything. And, I'm not going to get into explaining all these different possibilities of all these different things you could be going through. We all know what I'm talking about when I say that sometimes life just fucking kicks you while you're down. And so, how are you supposed to deal with these losses? I've talked about, some of these things in the past, just in terms of, being able to look back at them and reflect. I had a couple of days this week where I was at work and I was getting pretty frustrated and down on myself. I was pissed off. I was, just struggling with something that seemed like it should have been simple. And this is just one small example, but it really made me start to get, quite pissed off. And I guess this is a small and silly example, but like I said, I was taking an L that day. And there was a couple other things that happened this week. I don't want to get into it, but it was definitely I guess at one point I said it was a character developing week. Things just kind of continued to get piled on top of each other, from a bad day at work to a couple of things that happened in my personal life. And I was kind of pissed off and struggling. And so what I ended up doing is, opening up my journal, and this is something that I talk about all the time as well. And I started to write down all the things that started to irritate me, and I started to write down all the things that were in my control, and I started to write down all the things that were outside of my control. And there was quite a few things that were outside of my control, to be honest, but that being said, there was a lot of things that were inside of my control. And one thing that I realized is you don't always, and this is something I said before, but I guess it's just starting to actually, start to be something that I'm understanding, I guess. But you don't control the world. You just control how you react to it. And so for every one thing that you have in your life right now that feels like you can't control it and you feel like you're losing because of it, just remember that you control your response to it. You control how you react to it. And so it doesn't always feel like we have the power in every single situation that we're in, because it feels like things can just happen to us. But things aren't happening to us in the same way that, I guess you could look at it like things are just always happening to us. But I think the more constructive way to look at the situation is to actually look at what you can control every single time. Your reactions to things, the way that you actually interact with the challenges that you're facing. When we work out, it's a very clear indication of, struggling makes us stronger, but we don't ever make that connection in real life when we're struggling emotionally, or sometimes physically, but sometimes spiritually, or sometimes with loneliness, or with any of our emotions. Sometimes it just feels like the world is trying to beat us down and fucking keep us down and not want us to keep pushing. But one thing to remember is, sometimes, and this is something that I always kind of do as well, and it sounds funny, but I start to think of myself as, the main character in sometimes like a superhero movie. And I think of myself in the very beginning of it. You know how every single superhero movie starts off and the main character is just some, maybe like in the case of Spider-Man, he's just some nerdy student and he has some family problems and he doesn't really have the confidence to speak to this girl. Or whatever superhero you like the most, Spider-Man's kind of my favorite. And so I think of myself sometimes as like the very beginning of a superhero movie, in the sense that sometimes it does just kind of seem like the world's kind of ganging up on you or just throwing so many things your way that are challenging. But what you have to understand is that's just the beginning of the movie. That's not how it ends. That's not even how it is for the most part. And above all else, that's not how anyone remembers the entire movie. That's not how anyone remembers that character. People aren't remembered for the things that they're struggling with. They're remembered for the ways they overcome them. And so that might be a little reminder for yourself that, you might be going through a tough time right now. You might be taking an L in life. And you might be going through, like I said, a very difficult time in your life. And I'm not trying to be, unsympathetic towards that, because I've been there. This was a struggle of a week for me as well. But what I am trying to say is people are always going to remember the way that you kind of, I guess, act or react under pressure. Sometimes, and it's okay to have these flaws, it's okay to have these reactions because that's how we learn. But think about, I guess, how you want to be remembered in terms of how you react to the world when you take an L. I had a coach a very long time ago who used to get mad at me because when I would win, I would showboat and I would be, I guess the best way to say it is I would always wear my heart on my sleeve. When I would lose, I would be pissed. And when I would be winning, I would be through the roof. And he used to say, win with grace, lose with grace. Every time you win, you're learning a lot more about what to do better next time or what to continue to do next time. And when you lose, you're learning what to do better next time. And so it's important to understand that if you are going through a tough time in your life right now, you want to be remembered as somebody that wins and loses with grace. You want to be remembered as somebody that, when you are put to the challenge, maybe you do get stressed out or anxious, but you try your best to keep composed. Or you sit back for 1 extra second instead of having a split-second reaction, and you start to think about what's actually going to get you to, I guess, the solution that you're looking for. And so I hope this kind of served as a good reminder for you, and I hope that it gave you a new perspective on taking a loss in your life or going through a tough time in your life. Because we've all had those days. So that's all I got. For everybody that, listens to this podcast on a regular basis or watches this YouTube channel on a regular basis, thank you so much. You are the reason that I do what I do. I really do appreciate all the support, all the people that DM me, all the people that reach out to me, and it does mean the world to me. I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. And I also want to say that I've recently started a private group on Facebook and a WhatsApp group as well. The conversation is based around these types of things. It's based around mental health and self-development. And so if you want to be a part of that community, just feel free to reach out to me. My Instagram is going to be at the bottom of the screen if you're watching the YouTube version of this. Or you can find it in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast version. But it's at Mark D. Henriksen. And reach out to me and ask me how you can be a part of this community, because it is growing quickly and it is full of awesome conversations and great people as well. So that's all I got. Thank you so much for listening today. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. Go out and have the best day, the best week, the best month, and the best year you possibly can, and live your best life. That's all I got. Much love and peace out.